An initiative of the Greater Des Moines Partnership formed in 2007, the Business Innovation Zone, the BIZ, exists to connect entrepreneurial needs with qualified resources and to provide guided professional and business direction. The BIZ helps entrepreneurs maximize their successes by helping them navigate resources, strengthen knowledge, improve skills, form strategic alliances, and secure proper capitalization. To find out more about the BIZ, visit www.bizci.org.
Basically, I thought I'd tell everybody a little bit about myself. So, my family, kind of who I am, and talk about the business and talk about the transition from really being an engineer director, and then starting your own company. The fun, the hard, the bad, the good, the ugly. I'm married. My wife Chris is back there. We have a son, Preston. He's 17 years old. One of my hobbies is I'm a pilot. You'll find out why I'm a pilot, because I hate driving. I was in the military. I was in the Navy in the Sea Air Mariner program that brought me into college. I went to junior college, studied computer science type stuff. Kind of a long story, but kids come along and I ended up a professional career starting as a rock bottom engineer. I am enrolled in an adult MBA program, and I'm currently on hold with that program because my business is so busy. I just don't have time to be a full-time adult student right now. And I did do the SBA E200 program, and Monica's back there, and she was the instructor for that program. It was a great program for business people in situations like we were in that needed help kind of getting our stuff organized and getting kicked to the next level. Unfortunately, the E200 program is not going to be available next year in Des Moines, but I think Monica might have some ideas, and she's a really good resource. Somebody struggling with their smaller business in different growth stages, working with them. Kind of an introduction of Createworks. So what we do is we're an electronics manufacturing company, really at heart. We design, manufacture, and build electrical components for specialty vehicles. So what's a specialty vehicle? A specialty vehicle is like a Caterpillar, John Deere, fire truck, ambulance. And what we generally do is build things like this, a remote control that keeps an operator in a safe distance away from the vehicle and adds convenience. So if you're running a crane on a fire truck, say the fire truck's doing a forest fire and gets stuck, you can run the crane remotely. Or if you're working on a work truck, you can operate that crane to lift it like a transformer for a power line. Do these things remotely and in a safe place where the operators, it really makes things easier for them. We're located in Des Moines on the northeast side. We have 12 full-time employees, I think 4 or 5 part-time employees right now. We have about 10,000 square foot. We're currently under an expansion. We're going to add another 10,000 square foot. So we're growing, going to rock and roll. We've been at it really technically for about 4 years, so we're rocking and rolling. My banker's sitting here, and he knows that we're rocking and rolling. Maybe too much rocking and rolling for him. We try to have strong company values in our organization. One thing I've really tried to do is, because most people have a technical background or engineering background, the salaries are a little bit higher. They have to have benefits and 401k. So our company is very family focused. We've had some people, some family emergencies. We've been pretty lenient to try to give them the time they need to spend with their families. But we also do some work overseas, so sometimes we ask for some flexibility to work late night, 8 hours, things like that. And we do have 401k, so we do try to give back to the employees and do that. It's really hard as a small company to do that, but I think it's something necessary to have some of that bigger company benefit if we're going to try to get the talent that we need to be successful. And the owners are Chris and myself. We talked a little bit about products, so I told you radio frequency control systems, electronic control modules. We built some relays or high current, linear actuators, which is like an electric hydraulic cylinder. So like opening and closing doors or gates or valves. Wireless lights, so we built some lighting for industrial vehicles, so LED lighting that would go on a truck. You can use your key fob, turn the lights on and off, use a switch. They're used more like in farm equipment, things like that. We do electrical design, so we do start to finish design of products. So if you have a napkin sketch and it's electronic, we can probably make it for you. We do mechanical design, so if you draw it and you want a rapid prototype design, we can CNC machine and we can build the tooling to make it, or I can work with a partner company to do that type of work. We do electronics manufacturing. That means that we lay out circuit boards, design circuit boards, solder components on the boards, and we do software development. So we write the code that actually makes the stuff work. So we are a start to finish shop. It's very unique to have that in most companies our size. So I kind of talked about what makes us unique. So in-house design, start to finish engineering, rapid prototype, 3D printing. So if you wanted this key fob, for example, we can draw it and then you can roll it in a printer that we have. In about 4 hours, we'll hand one to you and say, here's your part. Advanced RF techniques. So over the years, I've developed ways to handle radio frequency codes in a way to keep, let me explain it another way. So there's military wireless and there's consumer wireless. So like your remote control on your TVs, your car key fob works one way. Military grade stuff like aircraft use are completely different when they're encrypted. I kind of built a balance between the two, so we have a medium to low priced radio frequency control system that offers a security of the high end. And that allows us to gain these industrial customers. And really what we're doing a lot of times is cutting the cord between the controller that may have been tethered before and then making it wireless. Sometimes when we cut the cord, our whole RF system is cheaper than the cable. So it really allows us to go in, let's break, for example, one of our customers, Top Air in Shell Rock, Iowa. Their tractor harness between their sprayer and their tractor was $2,500. Our whole remote control system was $600. So we do everything that they did before, do it safer. The harness doesn't get tied up in the PTO shaft, and it's a quarter of the price. Of course, if I would charge them $2,400, I probably wouldn't have a job. If I would charge them $1,000, they would have told me I was price gouging. So anyway, we're making money. It's all good. We do have, I mentioned CNC machining, so we'll build the mold, the injection molding, and work with a couple molders here in town to shoot our plastics for us. So that's a little bit about Createworks. So why Createworks? Well, Createworks is kind of a complex situation. It started out first, my wife, back there, who's a lawyer, said, Bob, you're designing all these things. We're going to get our ass sued, and we're not going to have a house. So we started Createworks officially in 2000 because I was doing some side work, and it was started as a consulting company. Well, what happened is the company I worked for was sold. And I work for a company called Iowa Export-Import, which is a division of Ruan, which is now Concentric International, if you follow Iowa Export-Import. We built up a little division, started at nothing, and grew to about $36, $38 million a year when I left. In that transition of the sale, they decided to downsize the engineering staff that we had in Des Moines. Kind of sucked. I had to go to my guys, hey, you're probably going to lose your job. And go to them and say, hey, my choice was really Bob moved to Detroit, work on our automotive stuff, or hit the road. So some of the guys and myself said, well, shit, this sucks. So we went out on our own, and that's how the Createworks really started. With that, all that happened, we did have a good mentor, the president of Iowa Export-Import, and he was helping the Createworks kind of get going, and then he passed away in that process. So we kind of got fired. Our mentor kind of died, and it was kind of a little crappy situation. So we decided we need to regroup and be smarter, be better, be faster. We need to be globally competitive, so we need to be able to compete against the Chinese, the Japanese, and the Taiwanese, or work with them on some things where we couldn't beat them. We decided we needed self-sustaining, so we didn't need to rely on Ruan's capital or Spall's capital or whatever. We needed to be on our own and be big boys and girls. And the last thing is there's really a lack of U.S.-made products in what we do. The market that we're in, the majority of the products are made in Taiwan and China. And I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, we don't buy anything from overseas. If you're in the electronics business, I don't care what part you have, your laptop, your cell phone, probably 80% of it's made in China or Taiwan or Japan. So we do have to source those components. What we can do is build the parts here, design the parts here, and then get the components at the best possible price to get our customers tools met. So transitioning from an engineer to entrepreneur, some things were really easy for us. The easy thing was engineering parts. We already knew how to do that. I mean, it'd be like an accounting, starting an accountant, starting an accounting firm. It's very easy if that's what you know how to do. Manufacturing, we understood manufacturing relatively well. We understood quality systems. We knew how to build things. Sorry?
When you say we, how many people at this point are in your company?
12 full-time employees and 4 part-time.
No, initially, like at this point when you're transitioning, you're
Oh.
like
4.
4? Okay.
4. We started little, I'm sorry. So we moved into a dump on the east side. We rebuilt the building. Facility, I like to build things, it's okay. We didn't have a lot of money, so we started. So we started in the hood. Equipment, we begged, borrowed, stealed, borrowed money, sold classic cars that I had, sold motorcycles, did whatever we could to buy the best, latest equipment that we could in the crappiest building we could. So when our customers came to see us, they kind of, ugh, on the outside, they go, oh, you guys have all the new stuff in here. We don't care about the building. We care about what's inside of it. So I was really relieved when we were able to pull that off. That was a big deal for us. And then grow that. We had a lot of existing contacts. They knew our skill level. Once we were able to kick out quality products in low volume, we just gradually started building on that. And we did it in our first year. We did about $700,000 in sales, so with 4 people. And some of our parts aren't so cheap, so the money adds up pretty quick. Harder stuff. My wife and I started working together. That was not so easy. Anybody who can work with their significant other deserves a big award. It almost cost us our marriage a couple of times. Luckily, we don't work together anymore. So she's back in the insurance business, and I'm doing this. But at that time, I was juggling doing some consulting work to try to bring in extra money so we could grow the company. And she did a great job helping us during those periods. But I know I'm a pain in the ass to work for, and she just let me know it. Insurance. You know, insurance for the business, like product liability for what we build, is a real pain. You want to talk about a nightmare. Say, oh, I want to control a crane that's going to lift something that weighs 20 tons, and it's going to be over top of some guy's head. They're like, oh, we aren't going to insure you. That was a real nightmare. We actually lost our product liability insurance, and the agent didn't even have the guts to tell us that they canceled our policy, so they mailed the notification to our customers, required that we had it, the same day that I received it. So I received 2 phone calls right before I got my certified letter saying that, Bob, your insurance is canceled. Bob, your insurance is canceled. I said, oh, shit, our insurance is canceled. So that was a nightmare. We've fortunately been able to rebound through that, and we were actually insured by Allied here in Des Moines and through Reynolds and Reynolds, and that is working relatively well at the current time. Human resources. This Bob is not known to be soft. I'm more of an engineer. It's black and white. Either works or doesn't. So if you don't work right, I tell you, that's probably why my wife and I didn't work so well together. That's kind of hard for me to deal with sometimes. So fortunately, we have a controller, and she handles the HR part of our business as far as the benefits, payroll, things like that. Much better. A real difficult pain in the hind end for me. Employee issues. I'm not too much of a drama queen. I don't like, you know, these are big boys. These are people with engineering degrees, engineering backgrounds, experience. They're not teenagers. I don't have time to babysit them. And they really don't like it when I tell them that. I just say, hey, look, man, I really don't care. Take care of it outside of the office. Get your crap done, and let's roll. Travel. I've always traveled extensively, but in starting the company, I think I drove like 150,000 miles the first year and a half, and then traveled probably 10 times to Asia. So it was pretty hectic. And the travel schedule makes it really hard to have a good work-life balance. So those are things that were hard, but the next slide, things that got really hard. Bankers. We started out with a bank. I don't remember what their original name was, but they became Bank of the West. They changed it a few times. Then that banker left and went to another bank. Well, we moved with him. They said, come on. Credit was pretty easy right when we first started to get money. Then that bank got involved in some bad loans with real estate, and they about went belly up. And then we went back to Bank of the West, and Bank of the West doesn't care about a company that's doing $1 million or $2 million worth of business, honestly. And then you had this credit crunch deal. I'm sure you've heard about that. And they really love giving small, leveraged high-tech companies money when they credit crunch. So that doesn't work either. And then, cash flow, all that stuff, it kind of sucked. Fortunately, our current bank, sitting right here, I had no idea they were coming today, it's Northwest Bank of Spencer. They were able to put some packages together to help us with the SBA and get us a credit line that we needed for the size of company that we're growing into. And I'm sure this year we'll do some more business with them. I think Jim and I know what's going on. Cash flow is a nightmare. Some of our customers are big. Some of them make these big green things that have a deer on the side, or these big things that say cat. They demand things to be on time. We have to buy parts sometimes 90 days in advance, flow this through the business, manufacture things, and they want terms, they want special delivery, they want this, they want that. It's a real nightmare for a small company. So you really have to stay on top of your cash management and your accounts receivables and payables. So your suppliers got to get paid, your customers got to get their parts, and you got to collect the money. And it's a real nightmare. And that cash flow thing equals the really hard thing is sleepless nights. So as we were really growing and really leveraged and really grinding through things, you think about, oh shit, am I going to have enough money for payroll next week? Is this guy going to pay me? Is this tooling thing going to come in? Are we going to get this done on time? It was a real nightmare. I mean, the growth from 1 million to about 3 million for me was, I was ready to go back to being an engineer again. But we drove through it, and we're significantly better, and we're in an awesome place right now for future growth, and I'm really happy for that. The next thing is relentless travel with near-death experiences twice. I almost died in a car crash going to Fargo with a supplier. It absolutely terrified the crap out of me. One of those black ice had to be there. I'm driving a Ford F-250, and the next time I missed a stop sign because I was distracted driving, so don't text and drive, talk on the phone and drive. Flew over Highway 30 and went to the ditch. So driving, I hate it. So I had to travel even more. So what does a guy do? Well, I figured my dad had his pilot's license. I'd get mine. So I have a partnership and like a flying club deal, and we actually use a private plane a lot for our travel. So we have customers in the middle of nowhere in North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, and it's just brutal driving there 8 hours for one meeting and coming back. So it's a very useful tool. If you add up the dollars, it's probably a wash. If you add the time into it, man, it just saves me about a week, a month of my life. The other thing that really happened from transitioning from an engineer to an entrepreneur, the way I saw things as an engineer in life, everything from my house life, my married life, my business life has changed. I completely see things differently because of the way I do accounting, the way I do things that I never looked at before, and it has been utterly a life-changing experience. In the last 4 years of my life, I think I've grown 40 years in age. And maybe that's because I work 60 to 80 hours a week, but yeah, it changed the way that I see everything in my life. Putting it all together. So I had to get smarter, and I had to do things I didn't like. I didn't like accounting, I didn't like banking, I didn't like ratios, I didn't like this crap, I didn't like that crap. But I had to buckle down because now people are really dependent on it. So now we're at 4 people, now we're going to 8 or 10 people, now we're on our growth spurt up. So I really had to study accounting. I really didn't like accounting at all, but my controller says that maybe I know too much about accounting now. Tax strategy, we work with an outside CPA firm, and we do have an internal controller. So with that, we have to really think about how much tax do you really want to pay to make the banker happy versus, do you want to write this stuff off this year or that year? The bank wants to see you make money. They want to see you pay taxes. As a person, if you can write it off, you don't really want to pay taxes on it. And it really jacks with the balance sheet around depreciation. So, tax strategy is kind of something that has been a pain for me. Big picture planning, I really have to take a big look at what our business is not only going to do today, tomorrow. I have these, let's say 12 people, their whole families. Their job is the primary income for their family. So they depend on me to look forward and be a future thinker of what we're going to do. I've been relatively accurate by hitting our sales forecast year after year, within a few percentage here and there. And that's really important for our business. It's really important for the bank, it's really important for my customers, it's really important for our suppliers, and it's really important for us to plan our floor space and equipment that we're going to need to continue to grow. The other thing that was really hard to do is keep my mouth shut. So I find myself biting my tongue a lot and letting people fail sometimes so they can learn, so they can be empowered, so they can take the next steps too. Because not only did I have to grow, I have to rely on my employees to grow in their positions, and that's kind of difficult for me to do. Setting and keeping goals, just like the forecasting, well, there's a personal goal, and I did say I was going to lose weight this year. We'll see how that works. But from a business point of view, I really do have to set the goals and keep them. Maintain our profit margin. Profit's not a crime. That's why we're in business. So we need to make sure that we make money, we're fair to our customers, and that we have legs to stand in the future. The other thing I found is there's alternate paths to get to the same result a lot of times. So as an engineer, you're pretty black and white. I want to go from here to this camera. Sometimes in business, you want to do something, you got to go over there, to here, to there, to get to there. I don't like that path, but I really got to deal with that alternate path to get to the same result. That means I got to be flexible. And as I mentioned, this company is now bigger than me and my wife. It's these people rely on this organization, so it's bigger than us. Just because we own it doesn't mean that we're responsible for everything that happens there. So we have to really take care of it and treat it like it's I kind of say we treat our company like it's a dog, right? You got to pet it, you got to feed it, you got to water it, or it's going to die, bite you, or run away. So we got to keep the business happy, and that keeps the employees happy. Making it all work, it was kind of difficult because we kind of had the perfect storm to fail. So we started, we couldn't get any cash to grow, it was a real nightmare. Poor economic conditions in the United States, tough overseas competition. So every time we build something, the Chinese or some other country, they want to try to copy it. They'll take our part, they'll send it overseas. They can copy the hardware, but they're like, how the hell did he do that? So fortunately, we can do that. I really feel sorry for somebody that's in a service business. Because, man, if I was selling toilet paper, I don't think I could be successful. But doing what I do, because I understand it so well, I am successful. It makes you feel like you're riding a rowboat in a hurricane. That's the best way I can describe the business environment right now. Try to invest in the future. We spend probably at least $10,000 a month in R&D activities. So every month we're setting aside some money. We're spending it in a certain way to learn, make our employees smarter, and make us smarter, and drive our technology to the next level. Because one of these days, one of these guys can be able to copy their parts and come in. Longevity, we got to make the company grow. That's something I really have to think about. Right now, it's got good legs for probably the next 10 years. I want to try to make sure that it becomes a company that will stand the test of time past that. I mentioned I have a 17-year-old son. I don't know if he's going to be involved in the company at a later date. He could, he couldn't. 17-year-old kids are pretty hard to predict. I don't know if we're going to do maybe an employee purchase later. We don't know if the president's going to take over, or we have had a couple offers to sell our company where we're a key supplier to some manufacturers, and they say, hey, maybe they're a $400 million company, Bob. What's it going to take to absorb your company? We want your R&D and we want your intellectual property to make us stronger. So I really don't want to sell the company, but I got to look out for Bob and employees. So right now, since we went through a bad sale, we're not for sale, in my opinion, unless there's a ton of money and everybody can be rewarded. Lessons learned, I talked about accounting and ratios. It's a nightmare for me. I understand it now. I wish I never did, but now I got it. Knowing where I am in the business cycle. Monica can tell you all about how business cycles work, and I won't quote all the business cycles there are, but you're either doing it, you're not doing it, you're kind of existing, or you're rocking and rolling. So we're kind of in between that existing into the rock and rolling stages. So which means that we're in a growth stage in the transition to the next levels, and we're just kind of working our way through the time to make sure that everything works in the right order that it should. So I think we're successful. We've been in the black every year that we've been operating. But there's always that fine line between being an existing business or being a growing business and a success. Understanding different finance vehicles and implications. So, you know, as my banker sits here, there is other ways to get money to him. You know, there's venture capitalists. There's a venture capitalist sitting at that chair right over there. There's traditional banks, which are these guys. And then there's a partnership where you can bring in some equity or merge with another organization. So there are other ways to grow. I've chose to keep everything very traditional with our business. I don't think that I could work for a venture capital firm or probably have a partner with as dynamic as we are right now. I try to keep focusing in, don't let things distract the big picture of what's going on. A lot of people, they get a setback and they want to dwell on that setback all day long. Oh, my dog ran away. Well, you'll find him later, hopefully, but you got your job to do. And I try to keep my blinders on and try to keep driving the thing forward every single day. And that's one of the things I see that I think a lot of small businesses fail because maybe they're short capital, maybe they're short equipment, maybe they're short personnel. They sit and they dwell on that instead of trying to drive it forward and get the problem solved. Because if you worry about this employee that quit or an employee that wants to leave, and you let that be your whole focus of your day, you're not very productive. That's kind of it. So we can questions and answers. I want to thank Mike from the Biz. Monica was a great instructor with E200. Jim's been a great banker. And I have a great wife. Sure.
There was an episode of 60 Minutes on Sunday night, essentially about robotics. And they showed, like, you know, warehouses with these devices that go around. And where do you see yourselves fitting in to that evolution?
I don't think we'll be, so we focus on things that really have wheels for the most part, whether it's a tractor or a truck or we're more in a mobile environment. We probably wouldn't do much in an industrial setting like that. So factory automation, warehouse automation. I think there's huge opportunities and things for that. We're just not set up in that business. We're well known and established, at least I am personally, in that RF, radio frequency control systems for vehicles.
Right.
I think that there's a huge future for those type of devices. We could build that stuff, but we're having trouble maintaining our growth cycle and not outgrowing ourselves where we're at right today. So we're lucky because we're able to add value and then add safety to a product and let the customer make a little bit more money. That's where it makes it successful, is to understand the whole thing.
So in your business, are you designing these products? Who owns then that intellectual property? Do you?
It depends on the situation.
Yeah.
Sometimes a customer comes with some specifications, say, hey Bob, we have this general specification, we want to make it RF. And for something like that, a lot of times we would charge them the engineering fees and the tooling to go with it. Then we would share all that engineering and we want to do the manufacturing if they would let us. Sometimes they want to farm it off to another company. I try to stay out of those situations. What I try to do is make them pay for the hard tooling of the product. So the plastic cases, the things that they need to make the product look the way they want. And I try to own the IP inside because that really keeps the production for me for a long period of time and gives me more leverage with the customer. Because when you have a commodity, let's say you're selling a bottle of water, it's very easy to shop a bottle of water. But if you have a bottle and you have this magical potion inside that nobody can figure out quite how to copy or it always changes, it's not so easy to go shop that bottle. Would that answer your?
I think so. I mean, that sounds like it leads into your sort of areas of competency you mentioned, sort of the radio frequency.
Yeah, it does.
Is it word of mouth? Is that how you kind of move your business?
It is kind of. The electronics community, especially in the Midwest, is very small. So, I mean, you're talking about the major electronics parts distributors and the guys that are really involved in RF. There's probably like 5 people in the central United States outside of Chicago. Chicago has some stuff with Motorola and what happened, you know, in those different industries over the years. But really guys that work on tractors and work trucks and ambulances and fire trucks and specialize in small RF devices, there aren't very many else. Matter of fact, John Deere has a project we're working on right now. They could only find 2 people in the United States to do it. So we were lucky.
Sounds like ag and construction is a fairly large chunk of your business. could you cast a little vision as to maybe some of the things that, not specifically R&D, but what are some of the conveniences that could come to agriculture that you would envision?
I think with Kinsey working on things that they are as far as autonomous tractors and grain hauling, I think you're going to see more of that in the future. But I think you're also going to be held back a little bit because the cost of the equipment is so high to have an operator who lifts tractor versus having somebody, making $12 an hour inside of it. I don't see that happening quite yet. I think maybe 20 years from now, I don't think today. I think Deere and Kinsey both have items I know that can drive themselves and plant corn and soybeans and harvest. But with a $300,000 this and a $700,000 this piece of equipment, I don't think they're going to rely completely on the electronics to do that. I do see that a big opportunity for us as you have less operators in the field wanting to operate things like motorized augers to move grain. We do a lot of that type of business. Open and close, different things, turn on and off lights remotely, save them time and convenience. They're not standing in the grain dust doing things. I think the ag market might soften in the next, at least what I've seen from my forecasts, because we work in manufacturing, so I kind of see what's going to happen in a year from now. I think they scaled back a little bit, maybe because this year wasn't as strong. I think some of the farmers sandbagged on their financials. I think you're going to see it slow down a little bit. It isn't going to stop, but it's been so hot for so long, it's got to slow down eventually. That's my opinion. You'd have to talk to an ag expert, but I don't think they're much different on their opinions.
So if I understand correctly, you don't really have marketing and sales. It's you doing business development and then it's your engineers really working on that.
We have one salesperson that's sitting directly across from me. And what happens is, so in our business, a salesperson would go call on a purchasing department. So let's just use John Deere for example. So John Deere has lots of factories, right? They have purchasing departments. Well, Scott would have to go to John Deere and go visit each guy. Our approach is really we work with the engineering department. The engineering department tells the buyer what to go buy. So then the buyer sitting there has the design 3/4 of the way done. He's like, well, how the hell do I shop for this? And it puts us in a better position. So that's kind of our focus, is to work directly with the engineering or development staff and then working with the person. And then the person guys will work us over and try to get the best deal. They'll want to see our bills of materials, see this, but it's really hard for them to put a cost on our intellectual property.
There's been a little focus on the fact that we don't have skilled employees in the, let's just say, Iowa. Do you feel that that's the case? Are you having difficulty finding any engineers?
I think that there's plenty of engineers in Iowa State that you can hire every year. I was speaking with an engineering director for a company in West Des Moines who's looking for some mechanical and software guys. He's having a heck of a time finding experienced ones. You can get them from Iowa State, and we can nurture them and make them what they are. But I think that the salary expectations right now from those grads is a little too high because there is not quite enough of those guys in the marketplace. Luckily, the engineers that are a little more diverse, that maybe need a little special handling, fit in well with our group. So the guy that doesn't like to talk to people maybe for a week, we can let him do his job and he fits in fine. And I actually know of a programmer that works for one of the big ag companies. They sent him home. They told him not to come to the office ever again, but keep working for us and just work on the projects because he was so introverted. He's a programmer. But I think there is a problem. I think that basic mathematics skills, I think that some of the things that the high schools are doing, the students don't have enough grasp to really handle the engineering course. And I think the Japanese, the Taiwanese, and the Chinese students are usually much better at those skills than we are right now. And I think it sucks. Our aerospace development in the United States is next to nothing. We don't have a space program really anymore. Engineers at the big manufacturers, they're project managers. They farm things off to companies like ours. They don't care where they're at. They don't care if they're in Italy. They don't care if they're in China, if they're in Greenland. It's become globalized, and it just stinks. So big companies don't build things from scratch. They buy components, and they assemble the components to make a finished good. And they try to have 2 or 3 component suppliers and they play the price off, and that's how they stay profitable. So I think engineering as a whole stinks in the United States right now.
Is the way to correct it to begin earlier teaching these math skills?
I think you have to. I mean, everybody wants to be a computer guy, you know. I mean, but there's the engineering student that comes from Iowa State right now. If you hand them a print and say, "Build this," they're just going to look at you and say, "Give it to the machinist or the fabricator." I'm like, "You build that." Well, I never built anything in school. Well, why not? Well, I don't know. So I look for kids that have been maybe farm kids that grew up on a farm because they actually understand how to do things. They can wire, they can weld, they can do it, and they understand the processes. But for sure, there's got to be some drastic changes in the United States in the way that we do things. And it's not Iowa. I think Iowa, we have some of the better ones. I think you get out in the coasts where they really focus on computer science or robotics. They don't build anything, just buy all these components and put it together. They don't have any skills that way.
Can you talk about what it's like to have a business down in your location is unique? I don't want you to re-describe the location, but it's interesting that you chose to build your business in what I think a lot of people would say is not the best part of town.
Well, we're on the northeast side, so we're, if you know where, what the heck was that mall called?
Southwest.
No, on the north side. Not Park Fair, it was Eastgate. Eastgate. So we're the first real street north of Euclid, and about 6 businesses in off 14th Street. It's industrial, it's zoned M1, so we can do whatever we want. It's short of having a nuclear power plant there. And we're doing this building expansion, and it's amazing. So we got to bring all our other buildings up to get tax abatement to whatever you would build in the new office park, wherever. We're across the street from a post office, so that's nice. We have nice neighbors. The jail relocated north of town, so when they let people out of jail, they follow the railroad tracks towards downtown. That's about a block away, so we see some transients some days. I like it because it's close to UPS and a lot of our raw material suppliers. It's not too far. I live in Beaverdale. It's not too far from our house, 15-minute drive to work. It allows us to do everything that we want. I think that there are some smaller businesses like ours that are growing and making the neighborhood better. It's cleaned up a lot since, I know, I had a little threat from one of the people in the neighborhood one day, and that didn't go so good for him. I think that it's better for us because we were able to buy the buildings for, we bought it for, let's say, $250,000, and if we bought the same thing in Ankeny, it probably would have been, $1 million almost. The facility where we used to have was almost 50,000 square foot. I think our taxes there are like $10,000 a month. Our taxes are like $10,000 a year, and our payments like $1,400 a month. So there's some real benefits from trying to run the thing on a shoestring. And our customers, for the most part, really haven't cared. A couple of them made fun of us, said we work out of a garage. But when they see the equipment and what the products they get, they're happy. So it's worked. We got broke into one time. They stole our photocopier, and we have no idea why they would steal a network photocopier. It must have been just some transient look through the window, so I'm going to steal a copier. There was a Ducati in the shop with the keys in the ignition. So they could have rode off on a new hot bike, but they chose to steal a photocopier they couldn't use. Other than that, I'm pretty happy there. You can shoot guns if you want. I mean, they won't call the police. We have a bar down the street that's kind of interesting. I've seen them get in fights, and actually the Firestone third shift people go there for breakfast, and they get drunk, and they start boxing about noon. So I've seen them start at the bar down the corner, come clear to the front of our shop, fight, and then go all the way back. It's like, dude, I mean, I can tell you great stories about being over there. I'm going to the fair every day.
Sure. Can you talk a little bit about stepping out of that smaller compartmental mindset and transitioning to big picture, and how you did that? If you started your other additional schooling at that point?
I started the other schooling. I looked to some mentors. I have a pretty prominent Des Moines businessman who I've helped with some things in the past. He's helped give me a lot of advice. He quite frankly will say, Bob, pull your head in your ass and do this. And he goes, I know you're thinking 9,000 ways to solve the problem, but do it this way and think a little bit bigger picture. And between schooling, talking with other business people, being in we have a little business group that I'm in with Dave Vance and another gentleman. We get together and have a cocktail every once in a while, and we kind of talk about our troubles. One guy owns an engineering firm, Dave owns a commercial real estate company, and we just kind of talk about the problems that we have together and work through it. Those sort of things, and then just the consequences. You're sitting at home thinking, man, if I screw up, I could put 12 families out of their house. That really changes your mindset, how you think.
So for somebody starting out, do you want to
Drink a lot of wine.
Pretend like you do have another
Yeah,
that's
and maybe, Monica's sitting right across from you. I don't know if you've met Monica or you know Monica. Monica could help you, or do you have a mentor in your business that you could talk to about big picture
Sure,
problems?
it's just, that initial hurdle.
It's hard. I mean,
To-do lists, and you're always working on the to-do list, and so then you're never really making the type of traction that you need to. So.
Yeah. Set your goals and look at your goals. Like maybe set a reminder for your goal to pop up at you every 8 o'clock. And say, yeah, that's what I'm here to do. Next day, set another goal and say, this is what I'm here to do. And get that stuck in the back of your mind and just ingrain it. It was not easy. I mean, it kind of happened automatically, but I fought it. I fought it a lot. I mean, because I'm really project-oriented. For me to change in the middle of something when I'm working on it, I get frustrated. Like my phone rings, or somebody comes into my office, or something happens. It's really hard for me to concentrate and change my mind like that. So I'd say focus and just really think of the big picture and try to understand your business plan and your business model and the direction you're going, and try to stay on task. Think about the people that you're with, and or the people that could depend on you in the future too, and how important it is for them that you're focused.
Maybe along with that, how hard was it for you to give up control or to learn how to delegate some of those things?
It's very difficult to give up control. I'm kind of a control freak. Even doing like financial stuff every morning, Monday morning I look at the payables and the receivables. I look at the quick snapshot of where we are as a company. Some customers come rolling out of my office sometimes Monday morning. Hey, you call that guy. Hey, you call this guy. Hey, do this. And I just had to let some more of these people do things. So like Scott's getting to do brochures right now. And I keep butting in and trying to tell him how I want it done. But then I've been backing off. Saying, we're at this look. Let's keep the same look. Let's do this. You just take care of it for me. And it's been difficult, but I'm starting to try to be able to do it. That's a real hard thing to do too, especially if you're a control freak.
Is the main proprietary product that you provide for your clients, is it mainly software?
Software and a little bit of hardware. I've met with Kirk before on some patent stuff on some hardware we've done, and we've been working with Zarly on our patents and trademarks.
Yeah.
So it's both. The problem with electronics is it moves so fast. By the time you guys get the IP stuff all done, it's already changed again.
Yeah.
And if you guys didn't know, both these guys, I know one of them is a patent attorney because I've been to trial with him before. The other one I assume is a patent attorney. That's another thing that we didn't talk about is copyrights, patents, trademarks, and those things. That's really important as your business starts to grow. Kirk and myself and the former company I worked for, we took on a Taiwanese company. I forgot what we got. Was it like $3 million, $3.5 million? It was all said and done. Put them completely out of business in the U.S. They're still in business in Taiwan. I went and visited them. The guy saw me and ducked.
He remembered.
He did. Well, I remember Craig, and I was standing next to Craig. So that's important. So,
sort of a theoretical question, but I'm a small business owner and talking about tax strategy. I'm sort of curious your view or your impression. Obviously,
well, I want to pay as little as possible.
Yeah.
I mean, and so does everybody, I think.
Yeah.
But then you have to make, Jim Ramsey might be the better person to answer this. There's a happy medium with the bank. The bank wants to see the company make money in it. I think when you pay taxes, they want to see that shows that you had enough money left over to really not bury everything.
I'm not talking right now about decisions whether to have to defer your tax. I guess the larger question I have, theoretically, let's say you have an opportunity down the road to expand your business, and now you can open up, you can either double the size of your business, or you can open up another location, let's say in another state.
Mm-hmm.
How would you business, or do you think it's a good place?
I think it's
You
both.
had choice to-
I think it's both. And I say this from my experience with the previous company. So we had an office in California and one in Iowa. And compared to California, Iowa was piece cake. Iowa, though, however, I will say the property taxes and the income taxes in Iowa stink compared to like Texas or Florida or some of those other places. I do think that the skill level here for the employees is a lot higher than some of those states that have lower taxes. So I'm not saying that people aren't as smart as other places. I'm just saying here it seems like the mindset works better with our group than if I was moved to, let's say, Texas. There's lots of tax advantages for a high-tech company to go to Texas right now. I don't think I could put together the same exact staff that I have here and have them interact with the type of customers we have and be successful. I am an Iowa native. I was born here. I've lived here all my life, more or less. So I believe in Iowa, and to get those good schools and things, I think we have to pay. I think Des Moines is a good city. We got kind of high taxes, but you get all these nice things up in one partnership and a nice downtown and places to go. So I think it is high. But if you want really terrified, go have some employees in California. I think we added it up. The employee in California costs $15,000 or $20,000 more per year than one year.
Any other questions?
Bob, thank you very much.